Alright, so welcome. In this video I want to do a quick review of this project I finished recently called Nature's Sounds. I will cover four things that have been very present in this small project. First, I called it reality of realism. Second, change can help you. Third, just a better panning technique. And the last tip would be transitional sound pop, or rather the issue that it can cause. So first thing I actually came across in this project is the reality of realism. This is something that actually took me a long time to realize. And briefly, it means that you don't actually need to focus on hardcore realism in order for something to sound, realistic or rather immersive. So in this example, we have two little ducks popping out of water unexpectedly. Well, this whole project does focus on trying to replicate the sounds of nature. There are times where realism wouldn't really benefit. I mean, if you talk serious realism in this shot, that would be more like this. Because realistically, you're far away from the camera, there's other stuff, there's construction in the background, this is somewhere shot in the city actually. There's no need to replicate full realism. But our goal is to show something from a different perspective instead of ultra realistic. Adding a cartoonish plop sound at this moment not only goes unnoticed in terms of breaking realism, but actually helps. A human mind connects a pop sound to something suddenly popping out. Even more so, the plop sound is high, short and cute, right? Perfect for an unexpected appearance of such a funny and cute animal like a duck. Something about that is both satisfying but more even expected from your brain than what it would actually sound like. Let's look at another example. In this clip, I had no professionally recorded audio of a great spotted woodpecker jumping on a narrow-leafed ash tree, and I was way too far to record its quiet little jumpy bird feed. So I used human footsteps. Yes, human footsteps. Sure, with heavy frequency isolations and a couple other sounds like twigs falling over some ambient sound that sounded like it's good enough to exist but not be in the face about it. So yes, human footsteps sufficed. Realism is not about being super realistic, having the exact recording that you need to have. It's about replicating what you might expect a sound to sound like, in this case at least. So let's go on with the next segment. I'll try to be quick. My idea is that change can help you. Change is often good. It can help you distinguish different scenes in different places. Let's look at this quick example. This project pretty much relies solely on audio. The videos are just simple jump cuts from one place to another, one subject to another. There is no big narrative, no story to follow. Well, maybe there's some micro stories in it, but that's not the key idea of this project. So having the freedom of so many simple jump cuts and so many different subjects and changes allows me to mask other things. So this shot sits in between other shots that do mainly have a subject, and so are represented with audio as well. This old man on a bicycle is followed by bicycle sounds. This young man here that was actually learning how to cast a fishing rod is followed by exactly that. Fishing rod swing, fishing tackle hits water. If I'm to apply the same logic of object emitting sound, it will sound very cool, sure, but it would take much longer than the other clips. And time was something that I didn't have with this project. That's why it focuses only on audio, which was the key idea. So sounding 10 legs for a 6-second clip wasn't really fitting into the schedule of this project. Neither would it improve its results that much. So this is a perfect time to try to mask it with something. If I were to use the same ambience and the same background techniques that I used for the clips before it and after it, it would sound way too bland and boring, and it would be absolutely noticeable that the subject itself is not emitting sound like the clips neighboring it. So adding a completely different set of ambience recordings, perhaps even adding a wind noise to portray that we are in fact too far away to hear the subject and separating us from it, it creates this big change between clips, but it also justifies the difference in sound focus. AKA, if part not fit, try change setting. That's it. Alright, this next one is a quick one. Panning and balancing. Sometimes a piece of audio happens to not be centered correctly, in terms of left to right ear proportions. Or perhaps you wish to add some wider sound dynamics yourself. So let's say that something is happening to the left side of the scene. Well, it's a good decision to use the already applied panner effect in the effect controls tab. While sometimes it can be a quick and dirty useful tool, it's not exactly the best idea in terms of audio quality. So let me show you what I mean. This tool is actually a balancer, which essentially means that if you're using a stereo track, turning it down to -50, so it goes halfway to the left, actually just turns down the volume of the right side by 50%. So if you're happy with a recording and it sounds great but very wide, using the balancer actually just kills one side of the stereo input. Let's hear this clip here. Just a warning, this is a random clip of me pretending to be a bird just to prove this concept. It's not the nicest thing to hear, but we'll survive. So straight up from the waveform, you can already tell that there's two individual inputs, left ear and right ear, and the audio plays only on one side and only on the other side. And while it plays on one side, it doesn't play on the other, which means that if you're listening to this on headphones or good quality speakers, you will hear it very uncomfortably. First your right ear and then the left ear. I'm sorry, you had to hear that. So let's try this experiment. If I turn the panel balance dial all the way to the left, to 100%, right? We should hear the left ear still fully on the left side, because it already is on the left side. But we want to hear even the slightest bit of the right ear, instead of like moving the right ear to the left side as well. So let's hear it. There will be no audio here. No cacas here, and then the left side still works regularly. So that does prove that the balancer pretty much just kills one side fully. So another quick experiment, if we turn this from -100, so all the way to the left ear, to slightly bit less, let's say 85, doesn't really matter, we will still hear the right ear but quieter in the right ear. It's not going to move the right ear to the left side. For simple things, obviously this would work, but if you have a much wider audio track or much wider recording, it basically just kills one side of the input. It doesn't literally move everything to the left. So there is an effect you're probably aware of called a stereo expander. It's used exactly as its name suggests. It allows you to widen the stereo, to expand the kind of room of it, but also provides a lot more control in properly balancing your audio. So let's take this very good background restaurant chat recording from Epidemic Sound and try it out. As you can see, if we turn the dial all the way to the left, it doesn't fully kill the right side. There's still things on the right. And if we do it the same to the right, there's still things to the left. But we kind of feel like the whole room shifted to the right or the left. What it does is that it kind of swaps two input sides, and as you move left to the right, it moves the whole thing, because it doesn't want a straight lower gain for one input side. So to use this the right way, especially if you have a very noticeably wide recording, is to first narrow down your stereo. By narrowing down your stereo, you have more room to actually move everything left or right, instead of just swapping sides. Meaning that you will still keep your right ear and some wideness to your stereo, but also shift it to the left or right slightly. Playing with these dials will show you just how much more precisely you can dial in your sound. And now this recording doesn't sound like we're sitting in the middle of the restaurant. But perhaps that the restaurant is more to our left, but we don't feel like it completely kills the right ear. Obviously you can fully turn it into mono and use both inputs on one side. But if you don't need to do that, you can narrow the room just slightly and achieve a much more natural sound and a better result overall. Had I picked a better sound, honestly, that has more separated audio, you would understand more of what I mean. So let's go back to this strange bird. This is kind of an extreme example. You wouldn't really need to usually turn the dials this much, but since this is an extreme recording I have here of this very realistic bird, I need to be a bit more experienced on the settings as well. But if we hear it now, so as you can hear by narrowing the room so the two sides are closer to each other and then putting everything to the left, we can still distinctly hear the fully right side and the fully left side, but the left side is obviously still staying at the left side, but the right side is not on the right ear, it's still on the left ear, but slightly bit more centered. This was a lot longer than it should have been, I'll admit. Alright, let's take care of the final tip. So, does your sounds pop when a new audio clip plays or ends like this? Well, that's easily fixable by applying a shortest possible default audio transition on your clips. Yes, I assumed you know this. And that's not what this tip is about. Let me assume another thing. You probably changed the default transition time to the lowest possible number of 2 in the edit preferences timeline settings, so that you can apply it to every clip before rendering it by selecting the whole timeline and then using the Ctrl-Shift-D shortcut or applying it directly through the sequence tab. But there's an issue with this that you might not be aware of. The lowest value for transition is 2 frames, logically. While that works great for clips that are right after one another in the timeline, since as they collide in the perfect middle. The clips that don't have a neighbor before them, but rather start on a different audio layer, get the same treatment, which ends up unfair to them. Two clips right after each other meet in the middle, but one lonely clip gets 2 sequence frames of transition as well, meaning that they essentially start late. This usually isn't a problem, but when you're editing something that's audio focused, especially when there's a significant change in the audio between 2 cuts, this tiny issue can cause a totally different effect and a different feeling to the cut itself. So let's look at it logically. For the second to last frame of this scene, the first audio clip is at 100%. The last frame is at probably 50%. But since there's a clip next to it, that next clip has met in the middle. So it also is at a 50%. And the next frame obviously at 100%, while the previous clip is at 0. This works great, but now we understand that a lonely clip also needs those 2 frames of transition time, since it wouldn't be much of a transition if it went from 0 to 100 without anything in between. So it essentially starts 1 frame later. Plus the slight fade effect can make it exaggerate much more than it technically is. Add a couple heavy clips with the same timing and your cut will feel like its audio is slightly delayed. While that can be a good thing on purpose sometimes, a sequence relying heavily on audio and has many of these cuts will definitely not go unnoticed. The fix for this couldn't be any simpler really, just hasten the sound a little bit, just extend the start of your audio track a slightly bit earlier, or move the whole clip, but that might introduce some timing issues afterwards, and that's it. Don't go overboard because you can hear it, that might sound too early and too washy and feel it like the cut is actually being laid instead of the audio. So literally just 1 frame, sometimes 2, but usually just 1 frame fixes the issue perfectly. And it's a very simple fix for something that you don't actually notice quite a lot of times. It took me a long time to notice because you finish the whole project and then just apply a default audio transition to everything so nothing peaks, so there's no weird clipping, and render it out and upload it to YouTube, and you watch it later and realize, well, I don't remember making like this. Why is it so washy? Why does it feel so weird? Like I don't remember this being so delayed and dull. That can sometimes happen. It doesn't always happen if you're editing regular like content, regular I guess video like this one itself, then it doesn't matter, right? But if you have a lot of changes, then the change can be very noticeable. Maybe not to someone who is just watching it for what it is, but for somebody who is listening to it, for somebody, it's a subconscious thing that you don't actually notice. You feel it. You feel that the cut is feeling weird. So that's it. If any of these topics actually helped you, I'm very glad then. If you have any objections or even a better way to go about the things I mentioned here, I'd be very glad to hear them actually. Well, I hope we see each other again. Keep being true. And I need to eat something. Toast. A little bit soggy. I don't know why.